The distress beacon pulsed weakly from beneath the twisted metal of the escape pod, half buried in frozen sand. Captain Marcuston stood at the edge of the crash site, breath fogging in the thin atmosphere of Kepler 442b's northern wastes. His surveyor crew had detected the impact 3 hours ago. Whatever had fallen from orbit was still transmitting. "Life signs?" he called to Rodriguez, who crouched beside the wreckage with a scanner. 1. Faint. Humanoid, but the readings are wrong. Temperature's dropping fast. Marcus grabbed the plasma cutter from his pack. The pod's hull bore markings he'd never seen, elegant script that seemed to shimmer even under layers of ice. Royal insignia, maybe. He didn't care about politics. Someone was dying. The cutter screamed through metal. When the hatch fell away, Marcus froze. She couldn't have been more than 16 by human standards. Violet skin, her arms folded protectively across her chest, silver hair matted with blood that glowed faintly blue in the dim light. Her face was delicate, almost fragile, with high cheekbones and eyes closed against the cold. She wore torn robes that had once been magnificent, gold thread woven through deep purple fabric, now shredded and frozen stiff. "Jesus," Rodriguez whispered. "Is that? Get the thermal blankets. Now!" Marcus dropped into the pod. The girl's breathing was shallow, lips tinged darker violet than her skin. Hypothermia, maybe shock, definitely trauma. He pressed fingers to her neck, searching for a pulse. Her skin was ice-cold, but he found it, weak, irregular, too fast. Her eyes snapped open. Gold irises, bright with fever or fear, locked onto his face. She tried to speak, words in a language that sounded like wind chimes and thunder. Then her hand shot up, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. Her fingers burned cold against his skin. "Easy," Marcus said. "I'm here to help." She searched his face, then her grip loosened. Her eyes rolled back and she went limp. Rodriguez appeared at the hatch with supplies. Together they wrapped her in thermal blankets, the material crackling as it activated against her frozen skin. Marcus lifted her carefully. She weighed almost nothing, and carried her toward the rover, parked 50 meters away on stable ground. "Command's not going to like this," Rodriguez muttered, jogging alongside. "First contact protocol says, first contact protocol can wait until she's not dying." They reached the rover. Marcus laid her on the medical bench while Rodriguez fired up the engine and activated the environmental controls. Heat flooded the cabin. The girl's breathing didn't improve. Marcus pulled out the medical scanner, running it over her body. The display flickered with data he couldn't fully interpret. 4-chambered heart, elevated core temperature. What should be elevated, now dangerously low. Internal injuries. Multiple fractures. Something that might be organ damage, though the scanner couldn't identify the organs clearly. "What do we even give her?" Rodriguez asked. "Our meds might poison her. Or save her life." Marcus studied the readouts. "Her biology's close enough to ours that the scanner recognizes it. Basic mammalian structure, cardiovascular system, respiratory system. I'm betting our stabilizers won't kill her." He prepared an injection of broad-spectrum antibiotics and anti-shock medication, reduced dosage, then hesitated. If he was wrong, this could finish her. If he did nothing, she'd definitely die. The girl's breath hitched. Her lips moved soundlessly. Marcus administered the injection. For 30 seconds, nothing changed. Then, color began returning to her skin, the violet deepening from that deathly pale shade. Her breathing steadied slightly. The scanner showed her temperature rising, though still too low. Rodriguez exhaled. Okay, that's good. Now what? Now we get her to the colony. She needs real medical attention." The rover lurched into motion, shreds grinding across frozen sand. Marcus kept his eyes on the scanner, watching for any sign her condition was worsening. Outside, the wasteland rolled past, endless dunes of rust-colored sand beneath a sky turning purple with dusk. The girl stirred. Her eyes opened again, clearer now, focusing on Marcus with unmistakable intelligence. She spoke, the strange language flowing more steadily this time. When he didn't respond, frustration crossed her face. She tried again, switching to another language, then another. On the fifth attempt, Marcus recognized it. Ancient Ur Sanskrit, close enough to the linguistic database in his neural implant for translation. "Where am I?" "Kepler 442b. Human Colony World. You crashed. We're taking you to medical facilities." She processed this, golden eyes studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Then she looked down at her own body, at the thermal blankets, the four line heat attached to her upper right arm. Her expression shifted through several emotions too quickly to name. "You shouldn't have." Her voice was soft but clear. "She will come for me. When she learns I survived, she'll come. And everyone here will die." Marcus kept his voice steady. "Who will come?" The girl's eyes met his. Despite the fever, despite the trauma, they held something ancient and terrible. "My mother, the Empress. She cast me here to die because I refused to execute a servant's child for spilling wine at a state dinner. She said mercy was weakness, that I dishonored our bloodline." The girl's voice didn't waver. "She'll finish what the exile began. You should have left me in the sand." The rover crested a dune. Below, the lights of New Horizon Colony spread across the valley floor, 5,000 souls who'd fled Earth's overcrowded systems for a fresh start. Marcus thought of his daughter, safe in their habitat, probably finishing homework at the kitchen table. He looked back at the girl wrapped in blankets, young and terrified and trying hard not to show it. "Not today," he said. The colony's medical base smelled like antiseptic and recycled air. Dr. Sarah Chin, no relation, despite the shared surname, worked quickly, her hands steady as she connected monitoring equipment to the alien girl's body. Marcus watched from behind the observation glass, unable to shake the weight of the girl's warning. "Vitals are stabilizing," Sarah reported through the intercom. "Whatever you gave her bought enough time. She's responding well to our treatment protocols. Her biology is remarkably compatible with our medical interventions." She paused, examining a readout. "Marcus, she has nanites in her bloodstream. Millions of them. Medical grade, incredibly sophisticated. They're trying to repair damage, but they're running out of power. If we could interface with them, boost their energy supply. Do it. We need her alive and conscious." Behind him, the door hissed open. Director James Hawthorne strode in, his expression grim. At 63, Hawthorne had guided New Horizon through droughts, equipment failures, and political disputes with Earth Command. He didn't rattle easily, but his jaw was tight as he stared through the glass at their patient. "Tell me that's not who I think it is," Hawthorne said quietly. "Royal markings on the pod. She confirmed she's the daughter of an empress. Christ. Marcus, do you understand what you brought into this colony? We're not a diplomatic station. We're farmers and miners barely making quotas. If an alien empire decides we interfered with royal business, she was dying." "I know." Hawthorne scrubbed his face with both hands. "I know. And you did the right thing. But now we deal with consequences." He turned to face Marcus. "The girl's pod was tracked entering our system. 3 ships followed it. Big ones. They're holding position at the system's edge, just sitting there, waiting." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "How long?" They arrived an hour after the crash. Haven't responded to our hails. Haven't approached. Just watching. Through the glass, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened, clearer now, and found Marcus even through the one-way glass. As if she could sense him there. She said her mother exiled her for showing mercy, Marcus said. For refusing to execute a child over an accident. What kind of empire does that? The kind we can't afford to provoke. Hawthorne moved closer to the glass. But we can't send her back to die either. So we're stuck in the middle of something we don't understand, with 3 warships at our doorstep. Inside the medical bay, Sarah finished connecting the power interface to the girl's nanites. The monitors showed an immediate response, the tiny machine surging back to life, working faster, repairing damage that would have taken weeks to heal naturally. The girl gasped, back arching, then relaxed as pain visibly drained from her features. She sat up slowly, moving all 4 arms independently to push aside blankets and wires. Sarah tried to guide her back down, but the girl shook her head, speaking in that Winchim language. When Sarah looked confused, the girl switched to Sanskrit again. I must speak with whoever commands here. Now! Before they land. Hawthorne activated the intercom. I'm Director Hawthorne. This is my colony. And those ships are yours? The girl's golden eyes found the speaker, then the glass, then Hawthorne himself. She stood, testing her weight, then walked to the window with surprising grace considering her injuries moments ago. They're my mother's royal guard. They followed my exile pod to ensure I reached the surface and died. But when your Captain Chen activated his rescue beacon, they detected it. Now they wait for confirmation of my death. She placed one hand against the glass. If I don't provide the confirmation soon, they'll investigate. They'll discover I live. Protocol demands they eliminate all witnesses to my survival. Marcus stepped forward. How many people on those ships? 50 warriors per vessel. Each trained from birth, augmented, loyal unto death. They could sterilize this entire colony in under an hour. Then we fake your death. Hawthorne said immediately. Transmit images of the crash site. Manufacture evidence. The guard are not fools. They'll land. They'll verify. And they'll find me. The girl's voice remained steady, but Marcus saw her hands trembling slightly. There's only one option that saves your people. Give me a weapon and a ship. I'll leave. Lead them away from here. They'll pursue and you'll be forgotten. You can barely walk. Sarah protested. Your injuries. My nanites have repaired critical damage. I'm royal-blooded. I can survive what would kill you. The girl's gaze swept across them all. This is not your fight. My mother wanted me dead for weakness. I won't prove her right by causing innocent deaths. Marcus thought of his daughter again. 13 years old, dark hair like her mother's, stubborn as hell. If someone threatened her, he'd burn worlds. But if she made a stand on principle, defying cruelty even at great personal cost, he'd be proud. What's your name? He asked. The girl blinked, surprised by the question. Kai, the 3rd princess of the Jintar Imperium. Daughter of Empress Shakura the Eternal. Heir to nothing now. Well, Kaida, I've got a better idea than sending you out there alone. Marcus looked at Hawthorne. We have defensive systems. Rail guns, energy shields. Limited but functional. We were ready for pirates or corporate raiders. Maybe we can be ready for this. Against 3 warships? Hawthorne shook his head. Marcus, I appreciate the thought, but they won't expect resistance. Kaida interrupted. Her eyes had sharpened, calculating. The guard operate on fear and overwhelming force. They expect compliance. If you strike first, coordinate properly, you might disable or destroy one vessel before they respond. Might. Hawthorne repeated. And when the other two retaliate? I know their tactical protocols, their weaknesses. I was raised in the Imperial Academy before my mother decided I was too soft to rule. Cade's voice took on an edge. I can help you. But more than that, if you fight alongside me, if humans defy the Imperium to protect someone who showed mercy, it sends a message. That maybe the old ways can be challenged. That maybe things can change. Hawthorne studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at Marcus. You brought her here. What's your call? Marcus thought about the easy answer. Send Kai away, hope the warships followed. Gamble with her life to ensure the colony's safety. The safe play. The logical play. He thought about his daughter asking him, years from now, what he'd done when it mattered. We stand with her, Marcus said. We prepare defenses, we fight if we have to, and we show these royal bastards that humans don't abandon people who need help. Cade's expression shifted. Something flickered across her face that might have been hope or might have been grief. You'll die, she said quietly. All of you. For me. Maybe, Marcus agreed. Or maybe we'll win. Either way, we make the choice ourselves. No empire tells us what to do on our world. Through the window, New Horizons' light sparkled in the gathering darkness. Somewhere up there, 3 warships waited with patient, terrible purpose. Kai pressed both right hands against the glass, a gesture Marcus didn't understand but felt the weight of anyway. Then I'll teach you how to kill gods, she said. The colony's command center buzzed with activity. Technicians rerouted power to defensive systems, while militia volunteers checked weapons they'd hoped never to fire in anger. Marcus stood beside Kai at the central display, watching tactical overlays update in real time. Their shields concentrate forward, Kai explained, her hands moving across the holographic interface with practiced efficiency. Standard Imperial doctrine, overwhelming frontal assault. But the rear ventral sections have minimal coverage. If your railguns can hit there, you might penetrate their reactor shielding. Rodriguez, now wearing militia armor, studied the schematics. That's a hell of a shot. Those ships are in high orbit, probably maneuvering. We'd need perfect timing. You'd need me, Kai corrected. I can calculate their movements. I studied under the fleet's tactical master for 8 years before. She stopped, jaw tightening. Before I disappointed my mother. Sarah entered carrying a tablet. The nanites are running full capacity now. She's completely healed, physically at least. But Marcus, we're getting readings. The Imperial ships just changed position. They're moving into lower orbit. Hawthorne pulled up the tracking data. 3 red icons descended slowly toward the planet, maintaining perfect formation. How long before they land? 90 minutes at current speed, Kai said without checking the display. They're being cautious, looking for traps. But they will land, they will investigate the crash site, and when they find evidence I survived, they'll come here. Then, we have 90 minutes to get ready. Hawthorne opened a colony-wide channel. All residents to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Militia to defensive positions. Engineering, I want every shield generator at maximum output. If anyone's got gods they pray to, now's the time. People moved with practiced efficiency. They drilled for emergencies, never expecting to face one like this. Marcus watched families hurrying toward reinforced bunkers, children clutching favorite toys, parents trying to mask their fear. His daughter appeared at the command center entrance, escorted by Mrs. Patterson from the school. Emily Chen met her father's eyes across the room, her face pale but composed. Dad? Marcus crossed to her, kneeling to meet her at eye level. Hey, kiddo. You remember the drills? Stay in the shelter, stay quiet, follow adult instructions. Emily's voice only shook a little. Are we going to be okay? He wanted to lie. Wanted to promise everything would be fine, that he'd keep her safe, that the monsters would never reach her. Instead, he pulled her close. I'm going to do everything I can, he said quietly. We all are. And we're not alone. Emily looked past him to where Kaida stood at the display, alien and regal even in borrowed medical scrubs. Is she why they're coming? She's why we're fighting. Big difference. Emily studied Kaida for another moment, then hugged her father fiercely. Don't die. Working on it. Mrs. Patterson led Emily away toward the shelters. Marcus returned to the command center, forcing his focus back to the tactical situation. Personal feelings had to wait. Right now, he was a militia captain with a colony to defend. We have 16 rail guns operational, Rodriguez reported. Energy shields covering the primary habitats and command center. Ammunition's limited, maybe 30 shots total before we're dry. Then, we make them count. Marcus turned to Kaida. You said we should hit the rear ventral sections. Which ship do we target first? Caide's golden eyes tracked the descending icons. The center vessel. It carries the guard commander, Vorash the Unyielding. He's the best tactical mind in the fleet. Eliminate him and the others will hesitate, revert to standard protocols. That hesitation gives you precious seconds. You know him? He trained me in blade combat when I was 6. Broke my arm twice during lessons to teach me about pain management. Her voice held no emotion. He'll be thorough. Efficient. He won't stop until every witness is dead. Hawthorne checked the time. 1 hour. Kaida, you're certain about these weak points? I've studied Imperial warship design since I could read. These vessels were built in the yards of Jantar Prime, using specifications I've memorized. She pulled up detailed schematics. Here, here, and here. Those are your target points. But understand, even if you damage all 3 ships, the guard themselves are deadly. If they deploy to the surface, your soldiers won't stand a chance in open combat. Then, we don't fight them open, Marcus said. We know this terrain. We know our buildings. We make them come to us on our terms. They have thermal imaging, motion sensors, and augmented combat reflexes that let them process information 3 times faster than baseline humans. Kaida met his eyes. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to ensure you understand what you face. Understood. Now tell us how to beat them anyway. Something shifted in Caide's expression, a flash of fierce satisfaction. You'd be surprised how many Imperial victories rely on enemies giving up before the fight starts. If you refuse to break, if you adapt and strike back, even gods bleed. She began highlighting points on the colony map. Here's what we'll do. The next hour passed in a blur of preparation. Militia teams positioned themselves according to Caide's tactical guidance, not in obvious defensive positions but scattered, hidden, ready for guerrilla engagement. Railgun crews calibrated their weapons, running simulations of the attack run. Engineers reinforced critical systems and established fallback positions. Marcus found himself working alongside Kaida, translating her military knowledge into practical applications. She moved through the command center like she'd been born to it, commanding respect despite her youth and alien nature. People listened when she spoke, responded to her quiet authority. You've done this before, Marcus observed during a brief lull. Led people in combat. I commanded training exercises. Theoretical scenarios. Kaida studied the tactical display. Never real battle. My mother said I lacked the necessary ruthlessness. She was probably right. The necessary ruthlessness to execute a child for an accident? Caide's 4 hands stilled. The child was 9. Terrified. The wine splashed onto my mother's formal robes during a banquet with the Hastar delegation. A genuine accident, anyone could see. But my mother declared it an assassination attempt. Demanded I carry out the execution personally to prove my worth as heir. And you refused. I tried to argue. Showed evidence it was clearly accidental. Offered to take responsibility myself, accept whatever punishment. Cade's voice dropped to barely a whisper. She said mercy was a disease. That I'd infected myself with weak sentiment. She had me dragged to the throne room, gave me one final chance. Kill the child or be exiled. Jesus. I chose exile. She had me beaten unconscious, loaded into a minimal survival pod, and launched at the nearest death world on record. This world. Kyle looked up, golden eyes bright. Your human colony wasn't supposed to be here. This system was listed as uninhabitable. You shouldn't exist. And now you're about to die because you saved someone not worth saving. Marcus gripped her shoulder, the upper left one, hoping that wasn't offensive in her culture. That child you saved. They're alive because of you. That makes you worth saving in my book. Before Kaida could respond, alarms blared. Red lights flooded the command center. They're landing, Sarah announced from her station. All 3 ships touching down near the crash site. Deploying ground teams. Hawthorne activated the railgun network. All crews stand by. Kaida, talk us through this. Kaida moved to the main display, her hands dancing across controls. Wait for them to commit. They'll spread out, establish a perimeter, then begin their investigation. The ships will be vulnerable during this phase. Crews focused outward, assuming no threat. That's your window. On screen, the 3 Imperial warships settled onto the frozen sand like metallic birds of prey. Ramps extended. Figures emerged, tall, armored, moving with predatory grace. The guard. 45 contacts, Rodriguez reported. Spreading out from the landing site. Some moving toward the crash, others establishing overwatch positions. The ships? Marcus asked. Still powered up, but shields are at minimal. They're confident. Good. Cade's voice turned cold, commanding. Railgun crews, designate targets as follows. Crew Alpha, center ship aft section. Crew Beta, left ship reactor housing. Crew Charlie, right ship port engine cluster. On my mark, full salvo, maximum penetration rounds. Marcus watched the militia crews, farmers, engineers, teachers who'd volunteered to defend their home, prepare to fire on warships from an ancient alien empire. The absurdity of it struck him. Then he thought of Emily in the shelter, of 5,000 people who'd built lives here, of a young woman who'd given up everything rather than murder a child. Crews ready, Rodriguez confirmed. Kaida watched the display. The guard teams moved further from their ships, confident in their invulnerability. Vorash, designated by command codes Kaida recognized, approached the crash site with a squad of warriors. Now, Kaida said quietly. Fire, Hawthorne ordered. 16 rail guns spoke simultaneously. Electromagnetically accelerated rounds screamed through atmosphere at hypersonic speeds. The sound reached the command center seconds later, a thunderous crack that shook windows. On screen, the results were devastating. The center ship's aft section exploded as penetrator rounds punched through minimal shielding and tore into reactor containment. The vessel lurched, atmosphere venting in brilliant jets. The left ship fared only slightly better. Its reactor held, but the housing ruptured, spewing radiation. The right ship took damage to its engine cluster, flames erupting across its hull. Reloading, Rodriguez called. 30 seconds. The guard forces reacted with terrifying speed. Within heartbeats, they'd identified the trajectory of incoming fire and begun returning toward the colony. Their weapons, energy rifles that glowed with contained plasma, opened up, targeting the railgun emplacements. "Take cover," Marcus shouted into the comms. "Fire and relocate." The second salvo launched. More hits, more damage. The center ship listed hard to port, its reactor breach spreading. The left ship attempted to lift off, damaged engines screaming, but railgun impact shattered its remaining stabilizers. It crashed back down, hull buckling. The right ship managed to raise shields and began returning fire. Energy bolts crashed against New Horizons' defensive barriers, overloading generators and cascading failures. "Shield integrity dropping," Sarah reported. "We can't take much more." "Third salvo," Hawthorne ordered. "Everything we've got at that last ship." The remaining rail guns fired. This time the Imperial shields held against most impacts, but 3 rounds penetrated. One struck the command deck, blowing out windows in a spray of crystalline fragments. Another hit amidships, and the third, guided by Cade's precise calculations, found the ventral weak spot. The explosion was spectacular. The ship's reactor didn't breach, but its power distribution network catastrophically failed. The vessel went dark, shields collapsing, weapon systems dying. 3 ships disabled, Marcus confirmed. "But we're out of ammunition." "And they're still coming," Rodriguez added grimly. On screen, 40-plus guard warriors advanced toward the colony, moving with coordinated precision. They'd lost their ships, but retained their deadliness. Kaida straightened, all 4 hands clenched into fists. "Now we see if humans can fight gods." The Imperial Guard moved like a tide across the frozen sand, their armor gleaming in the dusk light. Marcus watched from a concealed position in the colony's outer habitats, his rifle feeling pathetically inadequate against what approached. "Remember?" Cade's voice crackled through the comm network, transmitted from the command center where she coordinated defenses. "They expect terror. Expect surrender. Don't give them the satisfaction. Hit and fade, never stand and fight. You can't match them in direct combat, but you can bleed them." The first guard warrior reached the colony perimeter. 2.5 meters tall, for arms like Kaida but heavy with augmented muscle, armor that shimmered with personal shielding. The creature moved with absolute confidence, scanning the apparently empty buildings with compound eyes that glowed amber in the shadows. Marcus held his breath. 10 meters away. 8. 6. Rodriguez triggered the first trap. The ground beneath the warrior exploded, shaped charges they'd buried during the preparation hour. The blast caught the guard fighter by surprise, hurling them backward. Their armor held, but the impact stunned them. Militia fire erupted from 3 positions simultaneously. Concentrated rifle rounds hammered the fallen warrior. Shields sparked, flickered, failed. Rounds penetrated armor. Blue blood sprayed across sand. "First blood to the humans," Kaida said quietly. "Move now. They'll retaliate at your position." The militia teams abandoned their spots. Seconds later, plasma bolts turned the buildings they'd occupied into molten slag. The Imperial Guard advanced faster now, anger driving them, but their formation had loosened slightly. "They're emotional," Kaida observed. "Good. Borash would never allow that, but he's probably dead in the center ship. The others lack his discipline." The battle became a nightmare of running, shooting, and dying. 3 militia members fell in the first exchange, caught by plasma fire that cremated them instantly. But 5 more guard warriors went down to traps, concentrated fire, and sheer desperate determination. Marcus found himself fighting alongside Rodriguez in the colony's maintenance tunnels, using the underground network to maneuver between positions. They emerged behind a guard patrol, opened fire, dropped 2 warriors before the others could react, then dove back into the tunnels before return fire arrived. "This is insane!" Rodriguez gasped as they ran through darkness. "This is actually working. Don't jinx it." They reached their next position, a warehouse converted into a kill zone. The militia had rigged the entire structure with explosives and positioned firing lanes with overlapping fields. When the guard entered, searching for the guerrillas who kept harassing them, the trap would spring. But the guard had learned caution. They didn't enter en masse. Instead, they sent one warrior forward as bait while others covered from outside. "They're adapting," Tytha warned. "Fall back. Don't commit to—" The transmission cut off. "Kytha?" Marcus keyed his calm. "Kytha, respond." Static. "Command center." He tried. "Anyone report?" More static, then Hawthorne's voice, tight with stress. "We're under attack. Guard strike team hit the command center. They're in the building. I'm sealing the core, but—" Weapons fire echoed through the connection. "They're through. Cade's trying to hold them, but—" The line went dead. Marcus made a decision that would haunt him. "Rodriguez, take command of the militia. Keep them moving, keep fighting. I'm going to command. Marcus, that's suicide, that's an order." He ran. Through tunnels, up access ladders, across open ground where plasma fire turned sand to glass around his boots. The command center rose ahead, smoke pouring from breached walls. Bodies, human and guard, lay scattered around the entrance. Marcus burst through the door. Inside was carnage. Hawthorne slumped against a console, clutching his side where blood seeped between fingers. Sarah worked frantically at a terminal, trying to maintain tactical coordination even as battle raged. And, in the center of the room, Kytha fought. She moved like water and lightning combined, her arms wielding weapons taken from fallen guards. A plasma rifle in her upper right hand, firing precisely controlled bursts. An energy blade in her lower left, deflecting incoming fire. Her other hands manipulated personal shields stolen from dead warriors, creating a defensive matrix that barely held against 3 guard fighters. As Marcus watched, she ducked under a plasma bolt, rolled forward, and drove the energy blade up through a warrior's neck joint where armor was thinnest. The guard fell, ichor spraying. Kytha claimed his weapon without breaking stride, now wielding 2 rifles. The remaining 2 guards pressed harder. They were larger, stronger, better trained. But Kytha had something they lacked. She was fighting for people who'd chosen to stand with her. For mercy shone when the universe offered none. Marcus opened fire, targeting the left guard warrior. His rounds pinged off shields, but distracted the fighter long enough for Kytha to line up a shot. Her plasma bolt took the warrior through the faceplate. He dropped. The last guard turned toward Marcus with killing intent. The warrior raised his weapon, and Sarah tackled him from behind, having grabbed a fallen rifle. Her rounds did no damage, but shocked the warrior enough that he hesitated. Kytha didn't. She closed the distance, dropped her rifles, and drew a blade from her belt, ceremonial, ornate, glowing with contained energy. The guard warrior brought up 4 arms to defend, but Kytha was faster. The blade found gaps in armor with surgical precision. The warrior fell in pieces. Silence crashed down. The command center's emergency lights flickered over the aftermath. Marcus moved to Hawthorne, checking his wounds. Serious, but not immediately fatal if they got him to medical. Kytha stood amid the carnage, breathing hard, her borrowed medical scrubs torn and stained with both red and blue blood. Her golden eyes found Marcus. "Thank you," she said simply. "Thank you," he corrected. "You held them. I was trained for this. You chose it." Sarah's terminal chimed. "Contact's withdrawing," she reported, voice shaking. The remaining guard forces are falling back to their ships. How many? Kaida asked. Maybe 15. We killed or wounded almost 30. Kaida closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, something had changed. They'll request reinforcements. A full battle group. They'll sterilize this world to eliminate evidence of their failure. Then we run, Marcus said. Load everyone on our transport ships. Abandon the colony. They'll hunt you. The Imperium doesn't forgive. Kaida moved to the communication console, her hands flying across controls. But there might be another way. Something my mother never expected. What are you doing? Broadcasting on Imperial command frequencies. Tight beam to the guard ships, but also wide spectrum toward the fleet at the system's edge. Kay's expression was fierce, determined. If they're going to kill you for helping me, they'll have to do it publicly. She activated the transmission. When she spoke, it was in her native language, that Winchi-man, thunder sound that resonated through the speakers with unnatural clarity. But the translation scrolled across Marcus's neural implant. I am Kai, the third princess of the Jintar Imperium, speaking to the Royal Guard forces. You followed orders to ensure my death. You failed. These humans found me dying and chose to save me despite knowing nothing of our empire, our power, our ways. They asked nothing in return. When you came to complete your mission, they fought to defend me, though I am not their kind. They bled for a principle, that mercy deserves protection. Now you retreat. Now you call for reinforcements to hide your shame. But I declare this openly, on channels the entire fleet can monitor. If the Imperium moves against this colony, if even one more human dies for the crime of compassion, I will dedicate my existence to its destruction. I know our secrets, our weaknesses, our tactical doctrines. I will share them with every species we've conquered, every rebel we've suppressed, every enemy we've made in 1,000 years of expansion. And this is the choice I offer publicly, so all can witness. The guard can withdraw, can report that the third princess died in exile as ordered, can allow these humans to live in peace. Make your choice, warriors. Make it knowing that honor and mercy are not weaknesses. They're choices. I made mine. Now make yours. The transmission ended. Kaida sagged slightly, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The seconds stretched. Marcus held his breath, aware that everything hinged on what happened next. Either the guard would attack with renewed fury, determined to eliminate the threat Kaida represented, or, "We're receiving a response," Sarah said. Audio only. A voice emerged from the speakers, deep, resonant, carrying the weight of age and authority. It spoke in the Imperial language, but Marcus's implant translated. Princess Kaida, this is Vorash the Unyielding. I did not die in the first attack, though you clearly hoped I had. A sound that might have been a laugh. You fought well. Better than in training. These humans taught you something I could not, how to fight for others rather than for glory. I cannot countermand the Empress's orders, but I can interpret them. You were exiled to this world to die. The exile was completed. Whether death followed is a matter of report and evidence. I see no evidence. I report mission success. The guard withdraws. Static. Then softer. Your mother was wrong about you, little blade. Mercy is not weakness. It is the hardest strength. Perhaps one day the Imperium will learn that. Until then, survive. Thrive. Show us what we might become. The connection cut. On the tactical display, the remaining guard forces moved back to their damaged ships. One by one, the crippled vessels managed minimal power, enough for emergency liftoff. They rose into the sky trailing fire and atmosphere, limping toward the fleet at the system's edge. Marcus watched them go, unable to quite believe they'd survived. They're really leaving, Hawthorne whispered, still clutching his wounds. Son of a bitch. They're really leaving. Kaida stared at the display, her hands trembling slightly. Borash honored his training. He taught me that a warrior's greatest duty isn't to their empire, but to the code that makes them worth following. Her voice caught. I never understood until now. Sarah coordinated medical teams flooding into the command center. The scale of casualties became clear. 38 dead, 67 wounded, infrastructure heavily damaged. New Horizon Colony had paid in blood. But they'd survived. They'd faced an Imperial military force and won not through superior firepower but through determination, tactics, and a willingness to stand for something beyond survival. Emily found her father an hour later, after the immediate crisis passed. She ran to him, wrapped her arms around his waist, and didn't let go for a long time. Marcus held his daughter, feeling the weight of choices made and lives lost, grateful beyond words that he could still hold her. Kaida watched from nearby, her expression unreadable. She's your daughter, Kaida said eventually. It wasn't a question. Yeah. You risked her. Everything. For me. We risked it for what was right. Different thing. Kaida approached slowly, moving with careful deference. She knelt, or what passed for kneeling with her different joint structure, bringing herself to Emily's eye level. I am Kaida, she said in perfectly accented English, having learned it from colony databases during the battle. Your father and your people saved my life. I will not forget. Emily studied the alien princess, violet skin, for arms, golden eyes that held ancient sorrow and new hope. Are you going to stay? Emily asked. Kaida glanced at Marcus, then Hawthorne, who'd been brought in on a stretcher, then out the shattered windows at the colony that had fought for her. If I'm welcome, she said carefully, I have nowhere else. My mother's empire thinks me dead. Any ship that discovers otherwise will finish the execution. But here, she looked back at Emily. Here, people chose mercy. I would like to learn what else that choice might teach. You can stay, Emily said with the absolute certainty of youth. Right, Dad? Marcus felt eyes on him. Sarah, Hawthorne, Rodriguez, who just entered with malicious survivors. The weight of decision. Kaida was right that her presence invited risk. If the Imperium discovered she lived, they might return in force. But if humanity turned her away now, after so much sacrifice, what did that say about who they were? You can stay, Marcus confirmed. We'll figure out the details, but yeah, you're welcome here. Something happened to Cade's face. Her eyes brightened with moisture, tears, Marcus realized, the first he'd seen her shed. She bowed her head, her hands pressed together in a gesture of profound gratitude. I will earn this, she whispered. I swear it. The weeks that followed brought challenges of rebuilding and recovery. The colony mourned their dead, honored their sacrifice, and worked to repair damaged systems. Kaida proved invaluable. Her knowledge of advanced technology helped restore generators. Her tactical training improved defensive systems. Her simple presence reminded people what they'd fought for. She visited every family who'd lost someone in the battle, offering condolences in perfectly learned English, listening to stories about the fallen. Some families rejected her. Most didn't. Grief was complicated, but most understood she hadn't asked for rescue, hadn't wanted their deaths, and would carry that weight forever. Marcus found her one evening on the colony's observation deck, staring up at stars she'd once called home. He joined her in silence, two people processing trauma in their own ways. Borash's report will eventually reach my mother, Kaida said quietly. She'll know I survived. She'll know humans defied the Imperium. And she'll make choices. Will she come herself? No. Too proud. But she'll remember this world, this defiance. When the Imperium next expands, they'll test you. Push boundaries. See if humans truly meant what they demonstrated. Then we'll be ready. You will help us prepare. Kaida turned to him, golden eyes reflecting starlight. You understand I'm using you. Your colony, your people. Every day I stay here, every bit of Imperial knowledge I share, I'm weaponizing you against my mother's empire. Are you? Of course. I want the Imperium to change, to face consequences, to learn that strength without mercy is just cruelty with better aesthetics. She smiled, sad and determined. I'm using you to build something that can say no to gods. Marcus considered this. Considered the risks, the costs, the certainty that New Horizon had marked itself as different in ways that would attract both allies and enemies. Good, he said finally. Use us. We'll use you right back. Together, maybe we build something worth protecting. They stood in comfortable silence, human and alien, looking up at stars that suddenly seemed full of possibility instead of threat. Below, in the colony's rebuilt habitats, families gathered for evening meals. Children played in corridors patched with salvaged materials. Engineers debated defensive improvements, while farmers planned spring planting. Life continued scarred but unbroken, testament to choices made in crisis. Emily appeared at the observation deck entrance, looking for her father. She spotted him with Kaida and approached, no longer nervous around the alien princess. Mom says dinner's ready, Emily announced. She made extra. Says Kaida should come too if she wants. Kaida looked surprised. Your mate invites me? She's not my mate, she's my mom, Emily corrected. But yeah. She says anyone who fights for us eats with us. Marcus extended his hand toward the exit, gesture clear. Kaida studied it for a moment, then moved to follow. The three of them walked through corridors marked by battle but alive with recovery, heading toward a simple meal that meant everything. Behind them, through the observation window, stars wheeled in their eternal dance. Somewhere among them, an empire continued its expansion, unaware that on one insignificant colony world, something new had taken root. Mercy, defiance, hope. 3 words that would echo across the galaxy in time, carried by humans who'd refused to abandon a dying girl, and by an exiled princess who'd found that mercy wasn't weakness at all. It was revolution waiting to begin. 2/2